Hey, it is currently 7:53 a.m. on a Saturday morning. And I went to bed early, so here we are, wide awake. And I was thinking about this topic for the past week or so, and I just kept putting it off, but I think it's kind of important to say. And we're just, I guess, going to jump right into it. This is going to sound like a sermon. This is going to sound like me preaching. I am not a preacher, okay? And I don't see myself being a preacher. So if it comes off like that, it is what it is. But I just know the vibe of this conversation is going to give that. So basically, what I realized in December is that you're going to need new tools to get to where you're trying to go. And that's obvious. It sounds good. It sounds like, okay, I can do those things. But when you actually have to work to get those tools, which is something completely different than doing what you're used to, it's a little bit of a challenge. And some people may not ever end up acquiring these new tools needed to get to the new season of their life because of the challenges it requires. And the only thing that separates the doers and the dreamers is doing and persevering. So I'm going to tell you a little quick story, and hopefully you get the message from it. I had to take a very important test, right? They give you 3 times to take this test. They pay for the first 2, and on the 3rd try, you pay for it. And, when I usually take tests, I kid you not, from the time that I was in high school all the way up past college to now, I have always been a crammer. So I've never actually studied anything or retained anything in a good manner, the way that you should retain information from studying over a period of time. That wasn't me. I've always been a procrastinator, last minute type of girl. So that showed up in my testing environment too. So I would literally wait until the night before or the morning of and cram all this information. And from then on, it just kind of worked. Barely getting by worked until this test. And, the morning of, I studied, and I'm like, it's not going to be that hard. I've done this before, even though this is completely new information. I've done it before. It's cool. It's fine. It'll be fine. It'll be cool. It's cool. It wasn't cool. I failed. I'm sort of like, okay, well, I'll try again. I'll make a study plan and, try it again the second time around. The second time around, I studied a little bit more, but not really too much. And there was one part that I was avoiding in particular because I knew it was just very overwhelming. I had to read 73 pages and I wasn't doing that. I'm just not. I feel like if I can just, skim over it and get a little bit of information from it, then, it'll be cool. No. I went in there the second time praying to God and sat there and took that test and failed again. Okay? Now, granted, a lot of things were happening around this time. I'm going to give myself a little grace for that. But at the same time, the old habits were not working. The old way I used to, get through tests and just overall life was not working for me anymore. So this time, the 3rd time was the last time. And there was a lot of pressure surrounding that as well. And the first thing I did was do something I rarely ever do. I created note cards. And I spent time actually looking at those note cards, just looking, keeping my memory fresh and just reading, retaining the information that way. going through different avenues to, research information and retain that as well. And I would say 2 days before the actual exam, I went ahead and I started tackling the 73 pages. I did 14 pages over the span of 4 days, I want to say. Don't quote me on that. My math is terrible. Either way, I did it. Okay, I read the 73 pages. Some days more pages than others, so it's kind of off balance. But either way, I split it up and I did it. Right? And I sat there and I did my usual prayer before I took the test, or the night before, and I left it all up to God. At this point, it is what it is. I did more than I've ever done in my entire life when it comes to studying for this exam. So I'm like, you know what, child, if I don't get it, it just ain't for me. The third time I took that test, I passed it. And it didn't hit me then. I was just excited, because passing this exam meant a lot for me. And it honestly, if I'm being transparent, it meant I get to keep my job. After the third time, you're out of there, buddy. Like, we did all we could to help you, and which they did. They give you all the tools to succeed. And this is about to become the preachy part. God gives you all the tools that you need to succeed. But you sit there, you pick up the same old tool that you've been using. Oh, I'll be okay with this. It's fine. It's cool. It's whatever. And wonder why you're not getting anywhere. You sit here wondering why you can't use old keys to turn it into your new house. Drop them keys. Drop them old habits. And get to learning some new tools for your new season in your life. And it's not simple. And I think that's what keeps a lot of people from moving forward and progressing, because they're sitting around these people that's not really on the same wavelength and page that they are, and haven't been in this territory. And you're maybe the first person to go into this territory. And you have to sit there and be your cheerleader, your motivator. And you have to also kind of understand, like, giving yourself grace during this time period is extremely important, because like I said before, you are touching uncharted territory. This is all new for you, and it's easy to get scared. And one thing I think a lot of people, stop at is where they start to get uncomfortable, where they start to not know things, where it feels like they're in a dark room searching for the light switch. And for me, it's kind of like, can somebody at least tell me, like, this is how it's supposed to feel? And this is me telling you, it's okay to feel like that. That's normal. That's not out of the ordinary. You're not doing anything wrong. Just keep persevering. If that one tool is hard to get down, take your time. There is no rush. Okay, you're learning something new. It's not meant to be learned overnight. Not even maybe over 2 nights, 3 nights. It takes time to perfect something. And this is really for the perfectionists that procrastinate because they want something to be perfect, that plan everything out because they want something to be perfect, but never actually take the actions to make it perfect. You just visualize it. Oh, it sounds good. It'll be perfect one day. I'll keep working on it. And you never actually work on it. And maybe that's for a lot of reasons. Maybe because the thought of being actually successful at something scares you. Or maybe because the process to get there, you don't really want to work for it. The outcome sounds good, but the process to do it sounds god awful. Like, who wants to do that? The people that want it will do it. That's who. And if you truly wanted it, you would do it. You would find ways around the obstacles. You would build these new skill sets with these tools in there to continue to move yourself forward. And that's how I kind of see it. So for me, that test was very eye-opening, because for the first time in a very long time, I had to give myself the time and space I needed to adapt to this new tool. I mean, no cards is like, come on. I feel like that's so ancient. And I tried Quizlet. I love Quizlet. It's great. And that helped as well. But what really helped was going back to the basics. A lost art. Freaking note cards. Like, what? I had like literally 100 of them things, a stack of note cards, and I was just flying through them. Even if I already knew it, use it as a refresher, So I would literally say, give yourself grace. And I know I say this all the time, but we literally don't do it. Like I said, it sounds good, but we don't do it because we don't know how. Giving yourself grace looks like giving yourself the time, the space, positive affirmations to yourself. Even what I started to do was talk to myself like a kid. Because somewhere along the lines, in my opinion, when you were a kid, somebody didn't speak so nice to you when you were trying to adapt to something new, whether it was yourself or whether it was those around you. And from then on, that's how you treated yourself. You never gave yourself space or time. You have to get it down now. And instead of doing that and continuing that awful trait, literally stop and start talking to yourself how you would talk to other people around you that may need assistance or help. It's so easy to give those people around us the same assistance and help that we actually need. We're only outputting what we wish we received. And now it's time to turn that back into us and start treating ourselves that way. And I literally was talking to my best friend about this a couple days ago. Talking to myself like a kid helps me so much, because it acknowledges the fact that I don't want to do something. Like, I have to take this medicine every night, my little vitamins. And sometimes I'm just lazy. I'm going to be honest. I'm just freaking lazy sometimes. I don't feel like doing it. But I just say, it's only going to be 5 seconds. I know I don't want to do it, but the quicker you do it, the sooner it's over. And I give myself 5 minutes to finish it. And I finish it every single night. Every night I don't want to do it. And every night it works out just fine. And that's right there is building a habit, building consistency. And then that's how you start slowly giving yourself grace and time to do things. Being honest with yourself. This looks hard. This looks challenging. But I can do this. But I can learn how to navigate through this. But I'm going to get through it. You can state the obvious. You can state your emotions and what you're feeling about the fact of the matter of learning a new tool or adapting to something completely new. Yeah, this is extremely hard. You think walking was easy when we were babies? You think learning how to speak these languages and these words that have meanings behind them was easy? It wasn't. But we did it anyways. Also because we had maybe a positive reinforcement system and because we had to learn how to walk. And talk as well. We want to communicate. But the same thing can go for this too. If you want to do something that's going to better you in your life or your next season of this thing that we call a journey, you're going to do what it takes to get there. And that may help. Okay, I understand this feeling that I'm feeling right now. It doesn't feel too great. It's uncomfortable. And I don't think I know anybody that's been through this before. But I'm going to go ahead and look it up and see what I can do. Right there, you're giving that power back to you. You're not letting fear win. You're not letting uncertainty win. You're pushing through. And that right there is such a small, big step. And yeah, that's contradicting. It's small because it requires so little effort. It requires basically somebody telling you that this is how it can be. A new neural pathway that creates such a big shift. It's nothing to tell yourself, this looks awful, but I can learn how to do this. The words are simple, but those words create so much impact, so much self-trust, so much self-confidence that you can see this obstacle and say, I'm going to make it through this. I'm going to give myself time and space to make mistakes and push through this, to learn this new tool, to learn this new scenario so I can, get done what needs to be done. And like I said, none of this is easy. None of it is. But I'm just trying to give you the tools that may be helpful on why you may not be successful in certain things that you may want to do, because this applies to everything in life. It applies to that man that you keep talking to that you're not supposed to be talking to. It applies to that friend that's still around that's not supposed to be around that you still hang around though. It applies to intimate relationships, maybe with your parents, friends, whoever. It applies to work. It applies to school. It applies to that diet you're supposed to be on that you keep getting off of. It applies to everything. It's a one-size-fits-all. Yeah. Just go ahead and try it. But I'm here to tell you that everything that you're feeling is completely normal. Everything that you're feeling is completely temporary as well. You can go ahead and persevere through it. Just because it doesn't work out or feel so great the first time doesn't mean it's not for you, and doesn't mean that you won't be successful in the end if you persevere through it. Learning new things is not supposed to be easy. Otherwise, everybody could do it. Everybody would be successful, but everybody is not. Because for one, everybody is not you. Everybody does not have the same goal in mind. And some folks are lazy. And we were those lazy people before we decided to get up and do something about it. Before we decided it's okay to be uncomfortable. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because you're going to be placed in a lot of uncomfortable situations. You have to learn how to navigate through them if you want to be successful. That's literally the difference between the doers and the non-doers. The action. And like I said before, dreams don't work unless you do. So get to work. Everything will be just fine. You're not making it bigger than what it is. This is how you feel, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, you got to get done. So go ahead. Talk yourself through it. Give yourself that motivation, that pep talk. Your words are heavy and they mean a lot. That same energy that you give to the people around you, start pouring back into yourself. Okay? I think that's the end of my little sermon. It is currently 8:09 a.m. and I'm about to get my day started. So, I love y'all. And if you have any questions or anything, I haven't checked. I'm going to check today. I'm so sorry, y'all. If y'all haven't sending anything to my TikTok for me to post on here, I have not seen it. Forgive me. Forgive me. It'll be up on the next one if I have gotten anything. Okay. I'm stuttering. It's time for me to stop talking. Anyways, like I said, I love y'all. I hope y'all week goes amazing because this will be released on Monday. And don't forget to use those new tools and start working towards them. Okay? Bye.